Hey, and welcome back. Today might be one of the shorter of my discussions. Actually, I might make it one big one between what I remember from the 70s. Yes, I was a child of the 70s, and I don't remember a lot. I remember stories, I remember locations, but not very many events. Um, as I said in my last vlog, I was born in '71 in Philippine Islands on a military air base. My father was in the Air Force, so we got to move around a lot. Um, I remember my mom telling me how 72, I do believe it was. 72 or 73, I can't remember. I think it was 73 because mom said I was 2 years old, so it had to be 73. Going to 3 years old, so 72, 73. Um, we came back to the States. Mom and I moved to Gerald, Gerald, Missouri, um, because Dad was shipped over to Thailand to help with the latter half or the early half, whatever, of Vietnam. Granted, he was never in actual Vietnam unless it was you jump on this Huey to go pick up the dead and dying. Um, he was mostly a mechanic, so whatever he was doing there had to do more with mechanics on the Hueys than actual combat. Thank the Lord. Um, my uncle, my mom's brother, not father, mom's brother, had been in Vietnam as a grunt, and he saw a lot of the misery and hardship firsthand. Granted, he never talks about it. I'm pretty sure it affects him in ways that some of us can't even fathom. But after Dad got back from Thailand, one of the stories go, and I don't remember if I was how old I was or what it was, because the story goes that think I think we came back to the States before Dad was shipped back to Vietnam. But when we came back to the States, the story goes that he, we, whomever, um, and I'm pretty sure it was us because Mom was part of the story, that we were in Utah and they had traded an old Ford pickup truck for a newer vehicle, and Dad wasn't really happy with it because, um, as Dad put it, it was made out of tinfoil. Basically, it was a newer model made out of the lighter, cheaper materials instead of the heavy duty steel that his old pickup truck was. So the story goes that he went to get it back. He barely used the car, and he wanted the old truck back because it was safer. And he would prefer his newborn and wife to be in a safer vehicle. Sorry, it's the time of year I get dehydrated, or not dehydrated, dry mouth. But anyhow, he went to the dealership and they said, "Oh no, we've already gotten rid of the truck," which he found out through a friend that was a blatant lie. So he had gone back like a couple weeks later and said, "Look, I know you got my truck. I know you've been driving it around, doing your own thing, your own personal stuff with it, blah blah blah. You can either give me back the truck as a fair trade since you put on miles on it, or we're gonna see how well I can launch this car into the middle of your showroom, because the showroom was underneath a very tight turn um, overhead roadway, bridge or whatever you call it. I don't know what you call them nowadays. But anyhow, the one salesman was like, um, I don't know what we can do for you. And another one was like, look, I know this guy, he will do this. So he ended up getting his truck back. And this is a story that I heard from my parents. So whether it's true or not, I don't know. I found out in the last 30 years since my father has passed away that he had some very interesting stories that are or were questionable to the truth of them, I guess you'd say. But these were that was a story I heard from both my parents when I was younger. My father was known for basically being bold, brazen, and he didn't care. I shouldn't say he didn't care, but he was more like, you can't lie to me. I'm from Chicago. I was raised in the 40s when there was mobsters still running around. I can get around any obstacle you want to put in my way. That was his. He was. Let's just say he was a presence to be reckoned with when he got mad. Um, and I've seen some of his, not really his anger, but his "you're not pulling the wool over my eyes" attitude. He was the kind of guy that everybody loved. I mean, I've got some of his personality when it comes to I do what I do not because somebody wants me to do it or because it's a necessity. I do it because it's factor. I feel in a sense that it's my duty, I guess you'd say, to do what's right and do it as quickly and as properly as possible. And I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of my past managers have basically been unhappy that they've either had to let me go or I've had to go for one reason or another. Excuse me. I do get emotional. The last two jobs I've had here in Rolla that they've had to let me go for one reason or another. The manager or my manager has basically said, "Look, I don't want to do this, but they're making me do it." And I've even had contact with the last couple of days with people that I still get along with at work or my last job. Talk about have basically said it's been really bad here since you left because all the other people are mad that they've actually had to do their own stuff. That's not the words they use, but because this is YouTube, I have to not swear as much, which will be difficult when I get mad. But anyhow, what I do remember in the 70s when we lived in Tucson, Arizona. My dad was stationed there from, well, in the mid 70s. I don't remember exact dates. I know we went to Arkansas in 76 or 77, somewhere around there. But yeah, in the place that we lived in Tucson, the base that Dad worked at, and I don't remember if it was David Monson or Williams. I don't know. Williams is up here, up near Phoenix, up here. Like I'm still in Arizona. The house we lived in had what we would call nowadays a desert landscape. It did not have grass. It did not have trees. It had dirt, maybe a cactus or two. I don't remember. But Tucson is southern Arizona, closer to the Mexican border. At the time, I had no idea about Mexico or illegals or anything like that. So I was a kid. Um, but there was a I don't want to call it a ravine because it wasn't deep. It wasn't like it was more of a gully. It was a man-made gully, so water can during the monsoon seasons it floods. So it was basically to keep the area from flooding. It was to control the water flow out of residential areas. And I remember my dad telling me, if it's rain, if you see water down there, don't go in there. If you see water starting to come towards you, get out. If you're in there, basically, I was told not to go into it, not to play in it. Basically, unfortunately, I had a friend that lived behind us that I vaguely remember, and I would have to go down and up to get in to his backyard. Basically, we had no fence line. We had the gully, the trench, whatever you want to call it. Um, but I remember one day coming home, and my dad had come out to find me because the one benefit we had of being in the military is he had weather information before the standard news station, and he had found out from the base's weather radar, weather reports, whatever, that there was a storm approaching. And when there's a storm approaching, that's basically it's either going to be a nasty dust storm or it's going to be a heavy rainfall, depending on the time of year. And a lot of times the dust storms came before the rainstorms, just because the wind blowing off the rainstorms would kick up a dust storm. And if you've ever been in one, you know they are nasty bad. It is best to basically stay inside, not drive your vehicle, because it could clog up. Well, back then, it could clog up your radiator, clog up your manifold, clog up your running engine. It wasn't good for any vehicle um, of that time. Now, they may have made modifications to vehicles for that area, because dust storms are kind of common in Utah, Arizona, New Mexico, and parts of Texas. Even parts of Southern California had them. But anyhow, I remember I had a. Some of you might remember this Tonka trucks. It was a fire engine, and I was bringing it home because it was mine. Probably it was mine. I don't know. But anyhow, I got into the gully, and I was trying to climb up the other side when a trickle. Granted, at the time it was a trickle of water, what looked like a trickle of water, and I knew right then I needed to get out. Problem is, I was having trouble that day climbing up the side of the gully with this fire truck. It was seconds before. Well, I shouldn't say seconds, but it was moment. It was pretty close to getting my my butt washed away by a torrent of water. My father had literally reached down, grabbed me by, and I don't know if it was my hair, my neck, my shirt, whatever it was. He just grabbed me and yanked me out of there right before my fire truck got washed away. I was a little, from what I remember and the stories I was told, I was not exactly a happy camper. Mostly because the truck got washed away, not because of the fact that my dad pulled me out of there pretty roughly. Um, but it was about the truck more than anything else. Of course, as a kid, your priorities are a little, yeah, not exactly there. But I also remember I can't remember if it was one or two dogs, but I'm pretty sure we had at least one dog. My father was a dog person. In fact, I remember stories about the dogs that we had in the Philippines. Um, in fact, the one story that I remember the most is about the we had a friend that I don't know if he had a litter of pups or what the deal was, but he brought over a puppy uh, for us, basically. I thought it was a good idea. Hey, you've got a young boy here. You need a puppy with the boy. This puppy, the paws on this puppy, according to my dad, were huge. And when this puppy grew up, he was a big dog, and I think he was a shepherd, a German shepherd mix of some sort. We've never had pure breeds. We've always had mixed. Um, what do we call him? We called him Bear because he was so big. We also had another dog called Pickle, which the story I was told about Pickle in the Philippines, and yes, I'm jumping all over the 70s right now. The story that I remember once that my dad told me about Pickle was the dog was the greatest. It had no vicious bone in his body. He was very much a good dog. Unfortunately, I was a stinker, and he would lay down and let me come over there and just pet him and whatnot. Well, one day I was, I guess, in a rambunctious mood, and I went over to start petting him. And according to my parents, I was like petting him, and then I pounced on him, and that was it. Pickle didn't want nothing to do with me. Every time I started crawling, he'd go running. Um, but he was a good dog, from what I remember. Of course, we had several good dogs. Excuse me, my eyes rug me today like something's in them. All right. Here we go. I was afraid I was gonna have to do the Aquaman, which is basically pull my eyelid up and flush it with water. Um, let's see here. After I don't remember having maybe one pet in Tucson, and then Dad got relocated. We got relocated to Little Rock, Arkansas, which the memories I have of Little Rock is not exactly the greatest. Little Rock during the late '70s was one of those states that was basically we don't need the rest of the nation. We can build a wall around our state and be self sufficient. Um, and if that, I mean, that was something that my mom used to say. Of course, my mom didn't really like Arkansas. She doesn't even like the idea of having to drive through it if she has to go down, if she goes south of Missouri. She'd rather take a long route around it, but she doesn't go with us when we go to Texas. So, and my memories of Arkansas are kind of so. And when I'm traveling with Jerry, I'm just like, oh yeah, hey look, there's the base we went through because we have to go through the Little Rock area to go to Texas, and I'm always pointing out the base and the big old C-16 or Jolly Green Giant, whatever you want. I can't remember the name of that big old bird that's out in front of the base. But Little Rock is also a launching point for a lot of big cargo jets. C-16s. I can't remember half of them now. Now that I'm trying to think about them, I can't remember. But anyhow, we got to Arkansas. My father especially, because he was big. Some people would say he's overweight because he had the overweight stomach or the overweight look, but he carried himself like that was muscle. I mean, he he has taken on some. No, he did take on a lot of different physiological and psychological issues that most people probably would not even try to handle. Let's just say he was raised in a really rough neighborhood of Southside Chicago. I've got family still there. Um, don't know them by face, just one of them by name. Um, I don't know if she's gonna watch this, but Pam, I wish I could come out there and meet you, see where Dad was raised and everybody else was from, but I haven't had that chance. um, But yeah, he was born in 41, and he was raised in a very diverse, tough neighborhood. I mean, from what stories I've heard, I was like, I don't think I could handle that. I mean, I must say it, I am a pansy when it comes to certain things. I won't shy away from them, but I will be like nervous as all get out. I'm not a. I shouldn't say I'm not a runner because I have run from problems. Most of the things I've run from were more psychological and emotional than physiological problems. That's probably one of the reasons why I popped out my back in New York, because it's like, lift that box and carry it over here, okay? You know, you tell me to do it, I'm probably going to do it unless I know I can't, or know it's wrong. I do have my morals. They might not always be right, but you know. Anyhow, so when we got to Little Rock, I had not even started kindergarten yet. Well, I was at the age where I should have been in kindergarten or at least first grade, and they were like, "No, you have to be a certain age." I'm almost 6. What age do I have to be? You know, most kids my age were already in, if not pre-K, kindergarten. So that's where my educational problems started. It's also where Dad started having problems with the military, because he showed up a day early. I mean, literally reported in a day early, and they were like, "Okay, sure, no problem. Let's get your information. Let's get you started and processed." Now, as he was doing that, some higher up, I don't know what his actual rank was on base or whatnot, but some higher up who was probably about as big as he was said, "Oh, this man needs to go on the Fat Boy program." Blah, 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 blah. Well, the Fat Boy program was a weight loss program. Now, I don't know what it is, what set this in motion or whatnot. This guy was having a bad day or whatnot. But my dad was like, if I'm going on the Fat Boy program, you better be on it too. And he literally took it to the base commander. Now, the base commander looked at my father's records and all that and said, "This man is not fat. This man has naturally large bone. He can't help the way he looks. It's his genetics." Well, it went through a whole lot of medical exams and whatnot, and the medical examiner at the time was like agreeing, "Oh yeah, this guy should go on the Fat Boy program." Blah blah blah. Well, right before they were supposed to go into a court martial, try to get my dad out of the military, kicked out of the military, the whole 9 yards. A new guy, a new medical examiner, was placed in charge. Basically, the old medical examiner had to get transferred. Well, the new one looked at my father's records, James Daniel Henson. There is no senior or junior in our family line right now. But the new examiner said, "Nah, this guy is not, he doesn't need to be on a Fat Boy program, blah, 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 yada, yada." Well, what ended up happening was my dad went and did the Fat Boy program, the weight loss program. It didn't do a lick of good. He didn't lose much weight. And, I mean, every time they examined him, they were like, "This is not fat, this is muscle." Because they use that little pincher that measures, what is weight and what is fat and what is not. Every time they did that, the thing was like, I can't get no reading on this guy. It's muscle. But anyhow, the officer and his aide and the medical examiner who was trying to get my father removed from the military ended up getting court-martialed and placed on and the one guy got placed on the Fat Boy program as well. The other thing that they wanted to try to do is, because they went to my father and said, "Look, we know you know mechanics and all this demonstration. We want you to create a flow chart on how to do certain things, set it up for our what we need to do. And my father was like, sure, no problem. He did a full flow chart. I mean, a full draw out spectrum papers, the whole 9 yards. And then they turn around and try to say that it was not him, but somebody else higher than him. And that was Arkansas. That was what was happening with my father. Now, what was happening with me was got held back in school. That started the whole trend of them saying that I was slow. Oh yes, yeah, okay, I can understand. I might have had some issues with a learning disability, but the military again did not know how to diagnose some of the issues that some kids were having, like ADD and learning disabilities in one form or another, things like that. Um, that was the first thing that happened. And the second thing that happened was, let's just say, at a very early age, I might have been. I must have been. I don't know if it was the frustration of my learning disability or whatnot, but I was prone to outbursts of, I wouldn't say physical violence, but verbal violence, and I got really mad at a teacher one day and basically threatened to do physical harm with a Bowie knife. Or not Bowie, excuse me, Bowie, which and it was something it was a knife that my father had gotten from the Philippines. It was a very large, not exactly machete size, but pretty large blade. I don't own that blade no more. It was taken away from me as a teenager by my family. Whatever happened to it is unknown to me. Now that I've grown up and I'm not that violent, I learned how to control myself and whatnot. I would love to have that blade back, but everybody says it was gotten rid of. It was sold or something like that, which I'm not exactly happy because it was my father's and it was one of the few things. Well, it's not one of the few things, but it's one of the few things I would have loved to keep. I'm into swords and blade and knives and what people would call archaic weaponry, weaponry of old, Renaissance medieval type weaponry, not for harm, just for show and display. In fact, my wife, which I will probably take a picture of in one of my future discussions, had bought me a Celtic broadsword for a wedding gift to match my wedding outfit. And if I can find a picture, I might add that to one of my vlogs in the future. But when we lived in Arkansas, my parents were going through some hardships. Um, my father got a second job, a night job as a truck mat washer, just to have that extra income to help us out with some of our financial issues. Um, I I had become friends with a couple kids in the neighborhood. We had 2 dogs at one point in time, as well as 2 cats. The cats ran away. The dogs we ended up giving away before we left Little Rock. The cats were Mork and Mindy, because at the time Mork and Mindy was one of my favorite 70s shows. And then we had the 2 dogs, Tippy and Blackie. Blackie was a all black. Can't remember if he was. He wasn't a shepherd. He was. I can't remember the type of dog now. But he was all black, and then Tippy had a white tip on her tail. Yes, male and female, brother and sister. We always got brothers and sisters somehow. In Arkansas, the 2 animals we had. The area that we were living in was being developed, so every so often we had to have animal control, somebody like that come out to deal with copperheads, copperheads and cottonmouths, two very poisonous snakes for the Midwest. Um, we had to deal with those because there was a part of the neighborhood further down being developed. I also remember having a neighbor who was a young couple, military couple, and one of the pets that they had in a aquarium because it was still a baby was a baby alligator. How did you get? How they had gotten a baby alligator as a pet, I don't know, but it was fascinating going there and watching feed fish, goldfish, to this little gator. Another neighbor we had about a block away, they had a pool, yeah, above ground pool. So I spend some of my summer days there swimming. Well, one day I had lost my footwear and had to attempt to walk home on scorching hot concrete. Um, Thankfully, I didn't get very far because one of the neighbors had realized what was going on and had come out. And I don't remember if they gave me a pair of flip flops or if they took me home. Um, Ever since then, I have issues with not putting something on my feet, whether it's socks to wear around the house slippers, pair of shoes. I can't even go outside in my own yard without a pair of shoes because of, I guess because of that incident, my feet had become super sensitive to pebbles, rocks, dust, any form of debris, whether it's microscopic or not. I My feet are just very very sensitive. Not only to pressure but to people trying to tickle my feet. So a lot of things that happened in Arkansas kind of started the trend, I guess, of things to come. Not all of it bad, not all of it good either. But Arkansas was, let's just say that Arkansas was kind of a proving ground of sorts. Um, Another thing that happened in Arkansas is we were supposed to be shipped out of Arkansas by the end of '78. Well, my father had originally gotten orders to be shipped off to, I don't know if it was overseas or not. I can't remember exactly where we were originally supposed to go. But those orders kind of fell through. Whether it was something to do with higher ups, higher commanding officers, or just the whole rigmarole and problems that Dad was having with the potential court martial and all that fun legal stuff. I just remember that Mom and Dad were having problems because of that and because of finances. And even back then, I must have been very sensitive to various stresses and whatnot because I had been told, and I even had gotten diagnosed for some psychological problem. I just don't remember what it was. But I was told that I was sleepwalking. Excuse me. Sleepwalking. And not even remembering my parents stopped me from leaving the house or stopped me in the house to find out what was wrong, and not even realizing I was sleepwalking, that something else was wrong. So they had me examined basically, and that's when we found out that I was learning disabled and I had issues of one form or another that they could not explain. So I kind of realized back then that I was a weird person. I'll admit to it. I am not your average normal man, male, whatever you want to call me. I wear my heart on my sleeve. I have no problem showing my emotions. I sometimes have issues with filtering. I'll explain that. I sometimes have issues with filtering, which basically, in my terminology means I have trouble controlling what comes out of my mouth, um, which sometimes has gotten me into a lot of trouble. Sometimes it's like, oh, we did not know you felt that way. But anyhow, um, yes, this recording is going to be another long one. I am sorry, and I'm also sorry that I know the volume is going to go up and down. The next video when I come on here to let you know. Come on, Jim. I keep a list. Tomorrow, since we are done with the 70s, tomorrow starts Germany. Because Germany is the start of the 80s. And the 80s I remember a good deal about, so it's going to be multiple parts. It's going to be Germany, then it's going to be the move from Germany, and then just the 80s in general. Then, anyhow, I can, if you want, I can give you a rundown of what we're going to talk about. Just let me know, and I will insert that in a short video either later tonight or sometime tomorrow. Sorry I didn't get a video out yesterday because I was in St. Louis helping my aunt. That didn't affect her. My wife had a luncheon together for my aunt's church or some women's group. And they all, now that they've met Jerry, they're all like, "Oh, when is she coming back? When is she coming back? Is she coming back for the next luncheon? Is she gonna come back for this event? Is she coming?" That's because my wife has got more of a social heart, I guess you'd say. I'm not much of a social butterfly. I don't want to say that I like being secluded. I like being alone because if I wanted to be alone, I wouldn't have gotten married. I'm just not very. I've had problems in the last 20 years or so opening up to people. Um, One of the reasons why is because when you've suffered losses like I have, not saying that that your losses are any less or worse than mine, but because I've had a hard time with losing so many people, not just because of natural reasons like the inevitable, we all have to die, but just moving around so much after Dad retired and passed away, and I've like, who do I trust? Who do I get along with? How do I open myself up with? Luckily, now that we're well, I don't know if I should say semi-settled, but we are settled in Rolla, and I have gotten a small network of friends locally from work. Um, you will probably never meet these people, and I don't know if they watch these videos, but most of the people I'm close with now is from Taco Bell. Um, Roman is like a brother to me. Um, Andy is a pretty good friend. Even though Gatton and I have had our differences on management, I consider him a friend. I haven't talked to him since I left. Mostly because he's busy and I'm trying to keep myself busy. And, well, let's just say that, and it's not even Gatton's fault. Gatton is his last name. We don't use his first name because he doesn't like it. But let's just say I don't blame Gatton for what happened. I blame higher ups because they didn't go through the right process. I remember last night when talking to my wife on the way home. It's supposed to be 3 warnings or 2 to 3 write-ups before they can fire me for any offense. They didn't do that. Um, I could go to a corporate lawyer and fight it, but I don't have the money for that kind of thing. I thought about going and talking to Gatton and saying, "Look, who do I get a hold of to let them know that this district manager who decided to let me go didn't go through the right chain of dismissal. But I, I'm, I'm I don't want it. I don't want it to fester and cause me not to move forward, but I also don't want it to happen to some other person. So it's kind of like one of those. Look, we need to sit down and talk. I don't want my job back unless you feel that you need to give me my job back. But you did not go through the right processes. I'm not trying to tell them how to do their job, but let's say there's somebody else down the line that they do the same thing to, and this person has the right amount of financing backing or people who will financially back them to go through the legal system to right the wrong. But I'm 47. I've actually been contemplating the possibility of retirement, but the problem is I can't afford to retire right now. I still need to make at least. I'm trying to do fast math. 150 a week, $600 a month, just to make ends meet, so we're not struggling by robbing Peter to pay Paul. Um, but that's a different subject and a situation that I'm still dealing with. I am looking for another job. I am not just sitting on my butt doing nothing. Well, I shouldn't say doing nothing. This is something. My Bible's my Bible study is something which I'm going to leave it up to you folks. If you want to hear some of the things I've been reading in the Bible and finding for myself and my opinions on those particular chapters and verses and whatnot, let me know in the comments. I am more than happy to read the Bible and give people my opinion and how it affects me and then how it might affect others. You know, I'm not just I'm not a preacher. I'll tell you that right now. I'm just an ordinary average guy who is trying to find, I guess you'd say, his place in the world. And there are thousands, millions of subjects that people could read, talk about, discuss, hoping to find their place, the fillers and the gaps of their life. Fillers for the, yeah, I'll just leave it as gaps. I mean, we all deal with everything in various ways. Some of them not positive, some of them positive and possibly helpful to others. I know for one, when I was going to college, when I went to Ozark Christian College, I was going to learn more and to maybe use my past and things that have happened as a minister, psychologist, whatever you want to call it. Because when I went in, I didn't know if I wanted to go for ministry, missionary, or radio. I would love to be able to live in Colorado, where Dr. Dobson, Focus on the Family, it has their main location. Because I sometimes feel that I could use my past to help other people deal with what they're going through. And a lot of people go, how can a psychiatrist help a person dealing with depression unless the psychiatrist or the person has gone through similar situations, which That's how I was when I was uh, after my family tragedy. Because I mean, I went to I went to three different psychiatrists in two, three different times in an actual hospital. Diagnosed with manic depression, suicidal tendencies, with possible homicidal tendencies, uh, because I wanted to kill my mom's boyfriend at the time. That's another discussion. But I kept on thinking to myself, how can these people help when when I don't know if they've gone through the same situation. Their book they've gone through book training. I don't know what kind of life experience they have. Now I'm pretty sure if I was a psychiatrist, some people think the same thing. But the thing is, I haven't gone through the book training. I went through the life training, and to me, with all my experiences and whatnot, life training is more poignant, more to the point than a book is. I mean, uh, this is going to be an hour long discussion. I'm going to try to cut it in half for you, so I'm sorry. Um, yeah, I've dealt with loss. I've dealt with mind depression. I have never really. Well, I'll take that back. I did try to commit suicide at least twice. Overdose. It didn't work. Yeah, I went to I went and laid down thinking I was gonna fall asleep and not wake up. Well, no, fell asleep and nearly 13 to 14 hours later I woke up puking my brains out. I mean, literally puking my brains out. Did not go to a hospital for it. I dealt with it on my own because at the time I seriously was a loner. I mean, in my own home, I was a loner. I spent most of my time up in my room. And the only time I would come out of my room was for dinner, or if I wanted something from the kitchen, or if I was getting out of the house. The second time, same thing. I tried to overdose on a bunch of pills, Advil, to be exact. 4 hours later, puking my guts out. I was living with Jerry at the time. Yeah, Jerry was very unhappy with me, and basically, she's not leaving my side. She's already said that multiple times. No matter what I do, no matter what I try, she's not leaving. It's just good for me. Anyhow, uh, I jumped from the 80s to current events. Sorry, didn't mean to. Anyhow, uh, I'm gonna let this be at this length. I'm not gonna try to split it in half because I don't really know where to do that. It's a 15-minute video, and I am sorry if you've watched it to the end, which this will be the end. I promise you, this is the end. Thank you very much. I'm happy that you wanted to listen to me jabber on. Sorry that the volume is going to be up, down, up, down. I don't know if it's me, my voice, or my equipment, because this is a iPhone 6s, somewhere around there. It's an iPhone. It's an older model by iPhone. My wife has got a 7, but her volume is still good. My mom has got a 6 or 6S. Unfortunately, we can't afford to upgrade right now. But anyhow, thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, if you were able to hear it, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. If you have a comment, leave it in the comment box. If you have a question, leave it in the comments. I will try to answer it. I will try to get back to it as soon as I can. If you want to hear more or see more or want to know when I come on next and maybe just let it play in the background as sound, who knows. Hit the bell, let you know when I come back on, when I put in my next post. Hopefully, I'll be able to get it in tomorrow. I am now trying, now that I'm unemployed, I am now trying to get at least one video a day, whether it's a long video like this one about my past or a short video about something I read that I thought was inspiring, or maybe you want to hear how I feel about it. I don't know. I'm just, this is going to be a source of income, so I'm trying my best to do what I can. Jerry's, those of you who know Jerry and my wife, she does DIY. She does her own vlogs. She's trying to do what she can to help out with money. In fact, right now, her videos are making the money, the only money. So, if you don't know who my wife is, just look up Jerry Ann Henson, JERI-ANNHENSON. She does, like I said, she does DIYs and cook with me. She does a little bit of everything. She's got her regular her regular vlog, which is her shops and just her daily daily talk, or whatever you want to call it. Anyhow, y'all have a good night. God bless. See you around. Bye.